Om Sri Mahaganapataye Namaha. Om Sri Saraswatyai Namaha. Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Parampara. Vande Guru Parampara. Om Sri Chinmaya Sadgurave Namaha. Om Sri Tapovana Sishyaya Namaha. Hari Om.
Yeah.
As per the tradition,
Hari Om.
we would start with chanting the Shanti Path, which is projected earlier. I don't see it now. The Shanti Path is Om Apyayantu Mamangani Vak Pranaschakshushrotra Madho Balamindriyani Cha Sarvani Sarvam Brahma Upanishadam Mam Ham Brahma Nirakuryam Ma Brahma Nirakarot Anirakarunamasmanirakaranam me astu Tadatmani Nirateya Upanishatsu Dharmaha Te Mayi Santu Te Mayi Santu. Last two classes, we already covered two mantras. Mantra is when the student asks a question to the Guru, what is that principle which illumines the matter world? So the student seems to know there is a subtle but a illumining principle that illumines this matter or connects all experiences in our life. And the teacher explains that in the second mantra. So before I go to the second mantra, I want to remind a few key points. There are really two main principles in this world. One is matter. You can also call it energy if you want. Matter/energy, you can say. Other is consciousness or enlivening entity. That entity that gives sentiency to the matter. So only two. The properties of those two you have to contrast. It's important to keep that in mind. Matter is always an object of experience, number one. And it also has a characteristic of changing constantly, vikaritvam in Sanskrit. And third characteristic is temporary. It comes and goes. Suppose when we are in deep sleep, we don't see any matter of the universe. When you dream, you create your own matter in the dream. In waking state, we all share the same matter around us. That matter includes our body, our mind, our intellect also. Whereas consciousness, or the second aspect which I mentioned, is exact opposite. It is not an object, means it is subject, number one. Number two, it is unchanging, avikaryam. And number three, it is permanent. It is always there as a witness. Okay? So this is something you have to keep in mind when I mention world or matter or consciousness. I will explain some more as we go along. Now the teacher, because consciousness is a subject, it is not an object. When we ask a question, what is that principle that illumines? We are expecting an answer that we can objectify, because all our life we are only involving ourselves in understanding world around us as something that we know, the object of our knowledge, object of our emotions, object of our perception, but we do not know what is the subject itself. So it's a challenge for the teacher how to explain that. So what he says is, Srotrasya srotram, manaso manoha, vachoha vacham, ya pranasya pranaha, chakshusas chakshuhu. So he says, he cannot say it is an object, and it would be misleading, it would be wrong also. So instead of saying that, he said it's eye of the eye, ear of the ear, mind of the mind. So what he was saying is, we're trying to get our attention, look back at itself, so that we experience it. With eye you cannot see, but I can only see because of the consciousness. So you can add one more principle. I was telling three. One more you can add. Consciousness is enlivening principle, whereas matter has no sentience. Okay, so he is now telling you to look back into the consciousness, which is enlivening the eye, ears, mind, and prana. So his goal is to slowly take us towards ourselves. Okay, now what is the benefit of that? Atimucha dhiraha amruta bhavanti. So if you transcend your senses and see and experience as yourself that connecting principle, you become amruta bhavanti. You become liberated. You become free from anxieties, insecurities, unhappiness. Amruta, that means. Also, pretyasmad loka bhavanti. Even after death, that state continues. So while alive, you become amruta bhavanti, and after we pass, you'll continue in that state, because matter is temporary, whereas consciousness is permanent. So once you realize yourself while alive, it will continue even if the body drops. Okay, so that's the point here. Now we go to mantra number 3. Now the teacher has already summarized what is the benefit of this teaching. Also, he has given indicator. So now he's going to build on it. I will give you some more introduction once we get into it. Verse mantra number 3. न तत्र चक्षुर्गच्छति न वा गच्छति नो मनः न विद्मः न विजानीयो यथैत तदनुशुष्यात्. I will chant once again. न तत्र चक्षुर्गच्छति न वा गच्छति नो मनः न विद्मः न विजानीमः यथैत तदनुशिष्यात्. यथैतदनुशिष्यात्. Okay, so what it's saying is, this particular experience of Atman, if I say experience, again, I will be mistaken, because you take it as an object of experience. So I should not say experience. So I should say this particular subject or consciousness. In brief, what he's saying is, it is beyond description. Okay, the essence of this mantra is, it is beyond description, because it is you. You cannot explain any experiences ourselves. Like how does a sweetness? You cannot explain. In the same way, when it is you in totality, it cannot be explained. So he's saying the same thing in an interesting way. Na tatra chakshuhu gacchati. In the field of consciousness, eyes cannot go. By negating, he's trying to tell you it exists in you, as the essence of the whole universe, but eyes cannot see it as object. Na tatra chakshuhu gacchati. Eyes cannot go there. Literally, gacchati means going. Eyes na tatra chakshur gacchati. Na va gacchati. Speech cannot go. What does it mean? I cannot explain to you. It is an experience of yourself by yourself. Na va gacchati. No manaha. Okay, can we meditate upon it and then catch it, if I may say? No. No manaha. Mind cannot go there. So what is the problem now? He's saying, na vidmaha. We do not know. Na vijanimaha yadha etat anusishyat. We do not know how to explain this to you in a matter you can understand. Anusishyat means in a way you can understand. Na vijanimaha, we don't know how to explain. Na vidmaha, we don't know how to explain it. So this is again similar to what we said earlier. Only difference here is in the previous mantra, he has given a lakshana. Lakshana means indicators. Eye of the eye, ear of the ear, mind of the mind. That's their indicators. So in Vedanta Shastra, or any Shastra, or even in the world, day-to-day life also, to know anything, you need two things. One is the characteristics, other is an instrument of perception. Then only you can know something. In Vedanta, there is a maxim which says, Lakshana means indicators. Pramanabhyam, pramana means instrument of perception. Vastu siddhihi. Lakshana pramanabhyam vastu siddhihi. This is a maxim in any word. Through indicators and through means of knowledge, any vastu, anything is siddhi identified. So let me give you an example to make this clear. Suppose I want to send my student or my friend and introduce him or ask him to bring somebody in the next room. I am busy, so I cannot go, but I have to tell him, you go and bring Sitaram from the conference hall. I'm in the dining hall. I tell him, go and bring Sitaram. So my friend tells me, I do not know who is Sitaram. There are hundreds of people there. So what the first thing I do is, I tell him Lakshanas of Sitaram. Lakshana means characteristics. Okay, Sitaram is 5 foot 4 inches. So then my friend would know anybody who is much taller than 5 foot 4 inches or much shorter than 5 foot 4 inches is eliminated. Okay, he only looks for in that range. Number one, Lakshanas. But that's not sufficient. There are 1,000 people in there, maybe 100 people in there. There could be many people with 5 foot 4 inches. So that's not sufficient. It is just a starting point. Then I would say Sitaram is a little bit medium size. He's not thin, he's not heavy, he's medium size. That would eliminate a lot more others. Then I would say Sitaram he sports a mustache. Then that almost brings the point to him. But still there might be 1 or 2 more people with the same characteristics. Say either he always wears a hat. So all these lakshanas, once I explain to the student, he will go and exactly find where Sitaram is. So it's basically a way of excluding who is not Sitaram. And then who is Sitaram. Like this is how. It's called Lakshana. Pramanabhyam. Pramana means means of knowledge. So my friend is actually what means of knowledge is going to use? He's going to use his eyes. So using the information I gave about Sitaram and his eyes, he will go and find out where Sitaram is and what he is. So this is how teaching is also done. You explain what is the characteristics of the Atman, and then you give a pramana of the Atman. Now, pramana is a problem here because na chakshur gashati. This is what he's trying to say. He's identifying pramana. How can you say pramana here? Earlier, he gave you characteristics. Eye of the eye, ear of the ear, like those are characteristics, that's okay. But now, pramana is what pramana do we know? Means of knowledge? Chakshu, srotram, ear. These, now he's addressing, these pramanas do not go there. Okay, so that's the reason this sloka, mantra is said, it might sound like a repetition of the previous mantra, it is not. The standard way of teaching or standard of experiencing any object is using the characteristics first and then the means of knowledge. So he said characteristics he can say, but means of knowledge he said we cannot do it. So because the means of knowledge that are available are not cannot be used here, he has to make this statement. Na tatra jakshur gacchati, na vak gacchati, no manaha. Even by meditation, you cannot get it. Because of that, na vidmaha, na vijanimha. We do not know how to explain this to you. Don't worry, he will explain. But there is a very unique way the Upanishad is expressing the science of teaching in a systematic way. So basically, in our Shastras, there are 6 ways of explaining. Pramanas, 6 pramanas that are normally accepted. One is pratyaksha, by seeing an object directly or touching it or smelling it. These are all pratyaksha. You see directly. So that is only applicable for the matter, objects, not for the self. So that is denied. Anumana is another pramana. Anumana is you infer an object. How you do that? Suppose there is smoke, then you infer there must be fire. That is also not possible here because it is you yourself. When your mind stops, you have experience of yourself, but it is not something that you can infer unless you go to that state. Upamana by example, that also not available because it's not matter. All our examples are in the material world of matter. It is not. No. Upamana is like suppose you are looking for a fox. You don't know how the fox is. Then you explain to them it looks like a dog. Then the person will go and then look for something that looks like dog, but it is a little bit more aggressive. So he kind of connects it. That's upamana. All these things don't work in the case of Atman. There's like one more called Ardhapatti, Anupalabdhi. I will also tell them because I touched upon the subject. Ardhapatti is making a conclusion based upon facts. A simple example is, suppose you know somebody by name Krishna. He is gaining weight. You wonder why he is gaining so much weight. And you never see him eat in the daytime. So he is gaining weight, but you don't see him eat in the daytime. Then you make a conclusion, he must be eating in the night time. You see, that is called Ardhapatti. You infer information that is missing based upon available information. Like that, these are one more Anupalabdhi. By absence, so there are 6 chairs. You are supposed to have A, B, C, D, E, A, B, C, D, E, F. And the teacher the MC introduces A, B, C, E, F. But one chair is missing. So you inform Anupalabdhi by the absence of D, that chair is D. That's how you. The last one is Shabda Pramana. The reason I went through all this is none of these pramanas work in the case of pramana means of knowledge. They work in the case of subject. Only thing that really works in the Vedanta Shastra to teach Guru Sishya Parampara is Shabda Pramana. The teaching that comes through the sound, and then you understand by Shravana, but that is not done yet. Then you do Manana, then you do Nitidhyasana, then you realize the truth. So Vedanta Shastra's teaching style is Sabda Pramana. Okay. This fact is brought to the attention by next mantra, which is mantra number 4, which we go to that. Anyadeva tad viditat adho aviditadathi itri sushruma purvesham yenastad vyachachakshire. Again, I will say, Anyadeva tad viditat adho aviditat adhi iti sushruma purvesham yenastad vyachachakshire. Again, in simple language, it is something that cannot be known. The summary of this sloka, mantra. This is Anyat eva tat viditat. It is different from what is known. Adho, again, Anyadeva aviditat adhi. It is also different from unknown. So Atman is different from the known, means it's not an object. It is also different from unknown. So to give an example, I know how to speak English. I might know how to speak Hindi, maybe Tamil, Telugu. So what I know. But I do not know French. I do not know Chinese. I do not know Russian. So, but it is knowable. But I do not know, that's all. So what he's saying is, so anything that is knowable, it is not, basically. So it's different from known, it is different from unknown, means it is different from, if you combine these two, known is something I know, unknown is something knowable, but I do not know. Like for example, Hubble telescope went and saw so many stuff. I do not know all of them. Like that, there are supposedly different worlds existing in the universe. I do not know any of them, but they are knowable. So if you combine known and unknown combine, they are all knowable, but some of them I do not know, some of them I know, but they are knowable. You can say that. So this particular mantra is saying Atman is beyond all knowables. A simple way of saying is beyond all knowables. Okay. Now here, iti sushruma purvesham enastad vyacha chakshire. We heard iti like this, we heard from purvesham, from earlier teachers. Enastad vyacha chakshire, by whom this was explained to us. This is a very fascinating sentence. Don't take it lightly. The fact that he said it, this is how our earlier teachers have told us. The fact that he mentioned this is it has come through teachers. It is possible through Sabda Pramana. This is the implication here. Enas iti susruma purvesham enas tat vyacha chakshire. Those who have explained to us have told this like this. So it is a Sabda Pramana. This is how it is saying. So previous mantra has negated Pratyaksha Pramana. Now it is indirectly saying it can be known through Sabda Pramana. Now, what kind of Sabda Pramana? Purvesham Vyachachakshare, by earlier teachers. So it has come through a parampara of teachers. It's not my teaching. See, another thing, indirectly, the teacher is saying it is not me who's claiming the ownership of this message. He's saying my Purvesham, in earlier people have said, so it's Sabda Pramana, in parampara it came. Like Sadasiva Samarambham, Shankaracharya Madhyamam, Asmadacharya Paryantam, Vande Guru Paramparam. Like that. So Guru Parampara, through Guru Parampara, it has come to us. That is the point he's trying to make. So earlier also I have explained this to you guys before. In the Dakshinamurti Stotram, I have explained body, mind, intellect, and then this is ego. When the ego surrenders to the Atman, you realize self-realization. But the ego is connected to body, mind, and intellect. Then the ego is standing like this. It is connected to the body, mind, intellect. So all our flow or all our consciousness or living entity, living principle stands as a witness at that point. You follow me? It's standing as a witness. But when it is operating through ego, the ego takes the consciousness and then connects with various aspects. So the body, mind, intellect. Okay, all these four are actually illumined by consciousness through ego. So ego owns the body, mind, and intellect. So my body, my ideas, my thoughts, like that we talk. So fundamentally, the consciousness principle is eliminating the ego, which is closest to it, and then ego transfers the consciousness and claims all of them. My body, my mind, like that, my thoughts, like that. When the ego surrenders itself to consciousness, then you actually srotrasya srotram, chakshusas chakshuhu, like that we actually start experiencing the consciousness as it is, or realizing as we are. So, what basically it is saying is, you are claiming consciousness without identifying yourself with any one of the equipment. So, the important word is claim. It's not becoming, but you claim consciousness. So, you don't try to perceive consciousness through the senses or to the mind or to the intellect, but you withdraw your preoccupation with them, but be yourself. If you may ask, is it possible? You might ask. Yes. Let us say, now, this is an instrument. My glasses, I'm taking my specs, and then I'm showing it to you. My glasses are my specs. In India, they call it specs. In America, they call it glasses. I'm taking the glasses out. When I wear them and I'm talking to you, I forget I have glasses. Because they're so close to my body, so close to my attention, I do not even know I'm using glasses. So my consciousness, my eyes are seeing through the glasses, but I have no essentially perception of the glasses. But when I actually wear them, I take a look at them and confirm there's no dust on it. If there's dust, I clean it, and then I wear it. So exactly the same way, the reason I take the example of glasses is, you know, it's a clearly an instrument of instrument of my what you call eyesight, but I forget when I wear it because it's so close to my body. So also clothes. So also, now what I'm going to explain now is body. It is much closer, but it's still an instrument. I will give an example. When you go to sleep, have a deep sleep, and when you wake up in the morning, just like you check your glasses, you first examine your body if everything is okay before you jump out of the bed. You make a note of all parts, important parts that you know are not in good shape. The knees, for example, some people, elderly people, the youngsters, if they get hurt in the tennis court, their feet, for example. So they take a note of all the parts of the body. So then when they're using it, they're not conscious, but there is some principle behind it that actually can check it out. In fact, sometimes when you travel, if you go to places that you are not normally used to going, and before you go to sleep, you make a note in your mind. Okay, the bathroom is that side, clock is on this side, and the entry road door is on this side. Like that, you make a note to yourself before you go to sleep. When you wake up, there is a state in between where you just wonder where you are. You wonder where I am, where is the bathroom, where is the door, where is the clock. You just do not have an idea where you are. And you struggle for a few seconds before you actually realize where you are. I'm sure a lot of you have this experience. It happens only when you go to some place and sleep in the basement, stuff like that. It happens. I had it many times. If you travel like out of country or some places, what is happening here is your consciousness has not yet, your ego has not yet identified the body. So you don't have sense of direction. Until you identify with the body, you don't get the sense of direction. So body is not an independent principle. Body is a dependent principle. It's an instrument. But we are so used to it, just like I'm used to my glasses, so used to it, you assume it is you. But it is not you. It is only a vesture or a cloth, just like this cloth, that you are wearing to run our karma through, our desires, our debts, or our credit. You are running through it. But we are so preoccupied. So Guru has to tell you you are not the body, using examples like this to bring your attention out of it. And then you suddenly realize you, without body, you get consciousness still there. And you stop there. Don't use the body again to go back and say, okay, I am conscious. No, then you suddenly lost yourself. I will give two more examples, then you get the point. This is very important session today, because this some of the teaching is very fundamental. When he said, I am the eye of the eye, what he's really saying is the eyes operate, the instruments of perception, eye, instead of sight, operate because when my consciousness pervades it completely, I like eye. Every cell of the instrument called eye is pervaded by consciousness. Then only it works. So consciousness as though becomes eye and makes the eye active. Now you may ask a question, how do I separate consciousness from eye? I understand what you're saying, but how can I separate it? The teacher is actually saying yes. You are always doing it, whether you may know it or not. So he's trying to bring those points to your attention. Suppose you are listening to this pravachan, and then you get an SMS message. I hope you don't you will not be disturbed, but I'm just giving an example. You immediately take your mind off the eyes and then go to an SMS message, and you completely forgot. You completely disassociated yourself from the speaker, and then associated yourself to something completely you are unaware of before. So you have the capacity to disassociate and associate to something else. But if you just disassociate but don't associate, then you become consciousness. It will actually come in the later mantras, but I have to give you this because otherwise you will leave with an opinion that you don't know. We don't know how to teach. Teacher himself is saying so. It cannot. No, it can be taught, but through Shabda Pramana, through Veda Pramana, Apaurushaya Pramana, it can be taught. That is the point we are trying to making here. You first have to experience yourself, just like when you withdraw your attention from the speaker, you are still there, and then just remain there. Basically, it is awareness dissociated from our preoccupations, either mental, physical, or intellectual. But you are still there. So just like in Dakshinamurti, Yo Bhadraya Mudraya, Bhadra Mudra. You dissociate ego from the material vestures. And then you just remain with consciousness. Because consciousness is there all the time. If you cannot divert it, your mind would get stuck with one activity, but you can withdraw. When you withdraw, you just remain there. then you actually experience. I would not say experience again, I should correct myself. You become that. It's not that difficult. In fact, you can sometimes when people are asked to meditate, they say just feel yourself, feel the cold around your skin, and then stay associated with that sense of coldness, and then drop the coldness. You become self. So they dissociate your body and distract you to the coldness, and then drop it. So Swami Chinmaya frequently used to say, thought is nothing but consciousness plus object. The object can be a thought or idea or can be body. Consciousness plus object is a thought. Take the object out, objectless awareness is consciousness. So I have given few examples here. It is possible. One example I gave is, when you go places, you are not used to, your mind struggles to know where you are until it identifies with your body and then knows the directions around it. So you exist without body. But we are not able to do it in practically until you are alerted by this kind of knowledge. So how do you actually experience how you become your pure self is by withdrawing your attention. So basically it is claiming yourself. When you claim yourself, that word is very important. Claim yourself. You are claiming yourself rather than being caught up with the instruments. That's the idea here. So so all the instruments of perception have to be dropped. Or you have to know consciousness is operating through them, and you should be aware of the fact that you are that consciousness. So one more example I will give, and then we'll move on to the next mantra. Very often people ask the question, what would happen if I'm not aware of all these instruments of perception, action, thoughts? Can I exist? What is there? If there's nothing, what is life for? People ask this question. If there's nothing, so you're saying don't entertain anything. What is all this? And what is the fun in life? That is the ego talking. Ego does not want you to let it go. Okay, you will feel a lot more happier if you drop it, because you do not know how to live in the present because of the ego. Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi gives a beautiful story. Some of you might have heard. The story is there's a wedding party going on. People have a good time. A lot of food is being served, and entertainment activities are going on. So much is happening. One person dressed up very well comes to the party, and he's just enjoying himself, and then he's demanding from people, I want that, I want this, I want this. And then people getting annoyed. Who is this guy? But they cannot say anything because they're worried if it belongs to other party, it would be insulting to the person. So they tolerated him. And then the other party also, he's doing the same thing, demanding all this, what do you call preferential treatment. So then they're also started feeling this guy is too much. So finally, they both got together and said, "Who is that person?" And they both said, "We don't know him." No, we don't know him. Then this fellow realized that they are talking, and then he disappeared. That is the ego. As long as you don't pay attention, it plays games to it. So all these questions, oh, this Vedanta is too tough for me or too complicated. All these things, ego will throw at you. It's like a curveball. And you just believe it, and then you start, oh, I cannot understand it. But you have to shravanam, you got to listen. And you are all attending satsangs. Some of them some of the pravachans you like more than others. You listen to them more and more, and then you try to get these key points and then reflect upon them. Manana, Shravana, and Manana. You have to reflect upon them. You said all these points are correct. Yes, I can live without the ego, without using the ego to control my body, mind, and intellect. If I do that, I can feel more happy. So it's very important to have that awareness. Spirituality is actually not an alien science. And this ego, if it does it, I already mentioned before, Atman cannot be found in matter because matter is an object. It is only a subject. And so scientists cannot find it. They might do an enormous amount of research, but all their research is in the names and forms. So when I use the word names and forms, don't get again lost. Names and forms are also thoughts, objects. Within the consciousness, actually Vedanta says consciousness is all pervading. Because chakshusas chakshuhu, the eye of the eye is not only just my eyes, it's also your eyes and everybody's eyes, animals' eyes also. So it is a ear of all of them. So consciousness is all pervading. So, but when they look at only names and forms, like one object here and there, they cannot find it because they're stopping themselves with objects. So we already said in the beginning itself, in the first class, that it is scientists cannot find Atman because they're only looking in Nama Rupas. When you look in Nama Rupa, you only find in Nama Rupa. So if you're using Nama Rupa, the body is a name and form. And similarly, your ideas, names and forms, because you have objects in your thoughts. And then you have emotion behind it. And as I said in one of the classes, apple has a name and form. The thoughts also, scientists also have thoughts, but they're only limited to the names and forms. That is not the screen. The screen is fixed. Names and forms are characters, they come and go. But Atman remains unattached. But it illumines them. Without Atman, none of them can work. As I was telling, if you use this Atman, without Atman, none of them can grasp anything. None of them function. Pranasya pranaha. It is a prana of prana. Even breathing cannot happen. So this teaching is part of Veda Uttara Bhaga. Veda has two parts. Purva Bhaga, Uttara Bhaga. Uttara Bhaga is Vedanta Shastra. Teaching about ourselves. Okay, that will come the next sloka, mantra will come. But before I go there, I want to prepare how our thinking process should be in this approach. Self is the least complicated if you don't use the ego to understand it. Because ego will say, oh, I cannot understand it. It's too much for me. You are done. No, don't listen to it. You just relax. Let it flow through you without an obstruction. That is only way you can claim it. Atman. Gradually, because Atman is all pervading, you realize in consciousness you exist. It's not the other way around. We all think consciousness in my body. No. It's a product of my body. No. It's a property of my body. No, it is not. You are borrowing consciousness. You are feeling the existence of the body from consciousness. In fact, the whole universe rises in consciousness and drops in consciousness. Consciousness remains. Chidananda Rupaha Shivoham Shivoham. Just stop thinking it's not for me. No, you got it. Just the same thing that happens to scientists also. Only way you realize yourself is letting go. For sensuous perceptions, just like when shift your eyesight, your attention from eyes to ears. Suppose you are attached to something else. Detach. And then if you attach to remain in yourself. That is what the teachers are they're trying to say. This is what they learned from Guru Parampara, one after the other, one after the other. And then it is something that you experience and you remain, and it becomes you. It is not something you can objectify. So, Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, there is a quotation which says, Vijnataram are kena vijaniyat. Vijnataram, how do I know the knower? This is a very, very famous problem. So this is all Upanishad. Basically, they repeat the same teaching in different ways. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, Taittiriya Upanishad says. You are not this mortal body, you are infinite. So basically, Upanishads are gradual. Kenopanishad actually does an outstanding job because it comes directly in the teaching in very simple language. All the complicated questions it answers directly, very nicely. That's why Kenopanishad is the one we have started taking. So all the pramanas fail in the case of the self or Atman, except Veda Pramana, Apaurushaya Veda Pramana. So the teaching goes like that. Okay. So next few mantras, they actually give you Mahavakyas. Taking us Jiva gradually to the self, Atman. And those are called Mahavakyas. So what I will do, I will chant one more. Actually, we only have 2 minutes. Let me give you a quick summary of what we learned today, and then we'll close it. The teacher, to the question, what is that principle that enlivens everything? First he said is eye of the eye, nose of the nose, mind of the mind, prana of prana. First he said that those are lakshanas, those are the characteristics. Now we need to know, once you know characteristics, we need to know which pramana we have to use to recognize them. So I gave a quick summary of 6 pramanas available. Only Sabda pramana is possible in this case. Sabda pramana means that came from seniors, from our gurus on Guru Parampara. So the teacher has said, Nava Gachati, Nachakshur Gachati. He said all of those, all the Pratyaksh Pramanas, he has negated them. eyes cannot go there, ears cannot go there, mind cannot go there. He negated all the pratyaksha pramanas, inference also. Mind cannot go, mind is inference. He cannot go there. He negated many of the pramanas. Okay. And then it cannot be explained. This is what we heard from the ancestors. So the moment he said from ancestors we heard it, then we know Sabda Pramana works here. That's Vedic, So that is how the message is conveyed in two mantras today. Okay, we'll conclude. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om